Hi, I'm Dr. LaMothe. I'm a professor of psychology with 2 master's degrees, one in general psychology and the other in industrial organizational psychology. I also possess a doctorate in education. My expertise is in social emotional learning and self-awareness, which is one component of social emotional learning that you'll be learning about today, is critical when it comes to self-development. So today, in order to increase our competency in self-awareness,
we will aim to achieve the following learning objectives. 1. We will learn to manage behavior in terms of diversity. 2. We will learn to make better personal and professional connections with others. 3. We will learn to get better results from social interactions. And 4. We will learn how to increase social awareness to positively impact the world. So sit back and buckle up. Grab your favorite snack and let's take a closer look at self-awareness in the following video. What is self-awareness? Self-awareness are the abilities we develop to know our value, strengths, emotions, thoughts, and the impact of our behavior on the world. Let's take a look at the attributes of self-awareness. The pink container represents you. The red paint represents your skills in integrating personal and social identities and developing interest and a sense of purpose. The orange paint represents your skills in identifying personal, cultural, and linguistic assets and examining prejudices and biases. The yellow paint represents your skills in identifying your emotions and demonstrating honesty and integrity. The green paint represents your skills in linking your feelings and values and thoughts together, experiencing self-efficacy, and having a growth mindset. In self-awareness, the skills you develop are shown through your actions. Your actions pour out into society. The following are examples of bad self-awareness skills. You are what some people may call a firecracker. You say anything, anywhere, without being aware of how it may offend others. As a matter of fact, you just made a biased statement out loud at work. You want to take back what you just said. Too late. You offended your boss. Oops. Now you want to find a place to hide. The following are examples of good self-awareness skills. This example gives you a few tools to help cut out obstacles to self-awareness. Your ultimate goal is to understand who you are and becoming the best person you can be through mindfulness techniques like self-talk and daily practice. Self-awareness becomes as much a part of you as your personal and social identities. Self-awareness should be like an internal alarm clock, constantly reminding yourself that you are valuable, that your feelings, emotions, and thoughts need to align with good intentions, because good intentions lead to good actions. Your sense of purpose and your personal, cultural, and linguistic assets emerge as your sole motivators to examine your prejudices, biases, level of honesty, integrity, self-efficacy to promote a growth mindset, thus achieving a high level of self-awareness. In order to build self-awareness, you must become emotionally aware by developing the ability to connect to your core emotions and thoughts, accept those feelings and thoughts, and adjust those feelings and thoughts while interacting with others. It all starts in your mind. You can build self-awareness through the practice of mindfulness techniques. Mindfulness is the practice of purposely focusing your attention on the present moment. Focus question: what is one mindfulness technique that can help you achieve self-awareness? A. Self-talk. B. Eating slowly. C. Taking deep breaths. Focus question answer. If you chose A, you are correct. The importance of self-awareness.
why is self-awareness important?
Research showed that those who demonstrated a more accurate conception of their own skills, abilities, and preferences tended to perform better than those with a less accurate self-conception. Now, let's ask, how does self-awareness play a part in diversity? Let's first define diversity. Diversity is the individual or group differences that are attributed to the variations in culture, gender, sexuality, behavior, disability, religion, and so forth. Self-awareness in terms of diversity impacts the way we interact with each other in consideration of the variations and differences between ourselves and others. For instance, sometimes we may interact or choose not to interact with others because we assume that person or group may act in a certain manner. That is called stereotyping. Or we interact with a person or group based on facts, evidence, or observations that we make about them or a group of people, and that is called differentiation. Differentiation is paramount because it is important to understand and note that within cultures, there are other subcultures which make understanding our prejudices, stereotyping, and discriminatory behavior on a larger cultural scale very complex. One effective strategy that can be used to differentiate instead of stereotype others is having an open mind and replacing our assumptions about the other people around us with facts about that individual or group of people. This leads us to adaptability. Adaptability is the way in which we adapt our behavior and work methods in response to new information, changing conditions, or unexpected obstacles. It is how we adjust rapidly to new situations, warranting attention and resolution. Focus question: what is differentiation? A. How we understand our own prejudices, stereotyping, and discrimination on a large cultural scale. B. How we interact with a person or group based on facts, evidence, or observations about that person or group of people. C. How we may interact or not interact with others because we assume that person or group of people may act in a certain manner. Focus question answer. If you chose B, you are correct. Understanding your thoughts and feelings.
How are you? Or what's on your mind? Are just a couple of questions that are generally asked by friends and strangers alike, but we usually respond with a cursory answer such as, I'm fine, or nothing much. Of course, these interactions were designed for a cursory answer, nothing really in depth. But in terms of self-awareness in diverse groups, what would happen if we took a deeper dive into how we think and how we feel?
The purpose of this exercise is to help you distinguish between thinking and feeling because most people have trouble recognizing the differences. It's important to distinguish between thoughts and feelings because both have a place in self-awareness and adaptability. So, let's imagine a scenario where you sent an event invitation. On your worksheet, in the I think column on the left, you would write, I think this person will surprise me and reject my invitation based on my event theme. In the I feel column on the right, you would write, I feel rejected and cried because this person did not accept my invitation. Can you see the difference between what you think and what you feel? Now, think about other times when you were faced with a challenging situation. Then, state your thoughts as well as your feelings in the separate columns on your worksheet below. When you're done with your worksheet, you will see that your thoughts are based on experiences and have a cognitive component such as your thoughts of surprise, sadness, anger, or disgust. However, your feelings in the other column are based on emotional components you are experiencing physiologically, such as crying, fighting, shouting, or running. In short, thinking is a mental process and feeling is a physiological process. Knowing the differences will help you compartmentalize and rationalize your thoughts and feelings. Lastly, remember this: thoughts can trigger feelings and feelings can trigger thoughts. So compartmentalizing and rationalizing thoughts and feelings are key to better self-awareness, because by changing the way you think and feel, you can change the way you act. Also, it helps to identify the emotions we are experiencing, such as fear or hate, and link those emotions to rational thoughts. Rational thoughts are based on reason rather than on emotion. Thinking rationally will help prevent the negative repercussions that come from unethical behavior that leads to termination and possible legal actions. Focus question: what are rational thoughts based on? A. Rational thoughts are based on fear or hate. B. Rational thoughts are based on reason rather than on emotion. C. Rational thoughts are based on nothing at all. Focus question answer. If you chose B, you are correct. Understanding the feelings of others.
Your level of self-awareness has a huge effect on others. It impacts how you treat them and how valued they feel. This in turn influences what they think of you and how they will respond. The video that you will see next is a previous lecture of mine on empathy. It paints a picture about the 3 forms of empathy. Then we will discuss how understanding the feelings of others is important to self-awareness.
Empathy is a word that we use quite often, and sometimes the word is used interchangeably with sympathy. There are actually 2 different forms, but somewhat accomplish an emotional goal. Empathy involves putting yourself in the other person's shoes, as they say, or understanding something from their perspective. Sympathy is understanding their situation through your own perspective. So let's talk about empathy in particular. There are 3 forms of empathy. The first one is cognitive. The second is emotional. And the third is compassionate or compassion. So let's get into cognitive empathy. Cognitive empathy is understanding the thoughts of the other person, what they're thinking. For instance, if you just saw someone who lost their job, if you have lost your job before, now you understand how that might feel. So that's sympathy. But actually, empathy is approaching that person, asking questions, how do you feel, understanding fully how they're feeling, and empathizing specifically with their thoughts on their situation, not your perspective of what they may be going through, but what they've conveyed to you. Second is emotional empathy. This is where you're actually feeling what the other person is feeling. And to do that, listening to the person again and understanding their specific emotions. Last but not least is compassion or compassionate empathy. Now, this is where we take the cognitive portion and the emotional portion of empathy and we act upon what we've heard the person is thinking and what we've heard the person is feeling, and we show compassion. Sometimes compassion is as simple as a hug. Compassion can be shown by offering something that is of quality or value to that person that will help them in their situation or in their time of need. It's something that you are not going to be lost without, but that person can use it in order to better their situation or their emotional state. Also, very simply, compassion can be shown through words. Focus question: what are the 3 types of empathy? A. Love, honor, and obey. B. Emotional, cognitive, and compassion. C. Giving, listening, and talking. Focus question answer. If you chose B, you are correct. Flexibility matters.
Let's talk about flexibility and how that concept applies to self-awareness in diverse groups.
Flexibility is different than adaptability. Flexibility is our willingness and openness to change based on new information in changing conditions or unexpected obstacles that we experience. Flexibility is typically thought to comprise both cognitive and behavioral components. An example of flexibility that demonstrates self-awareness in diverse groups is 3 people of similar characteristics, such as gender, illustrated by the 3 males in this picture, are sitting in a meeting room talking about their interest in growing a beard. Then, a group of women walk into the room. The 3 men will understand that women do not usually grow a beard. This is an illustration of cognitive flexibility. And then they will change the topic of conversation to a universal topic, such as general grooming habits. This is behavioral flexibility. When you are learning to be cognitively and behaviorally flexible in developing new self-awareness skills, you must develop a growth mindset as well. Having a growth mindset in terms of self-awareness in diverse groups is important because to be flexible in diverse groups, our self-awareness skills are not set in stone because with work and determination, our skills can improve over time. Focus question: what is flexibility? A. Flexibility is our reluctance to change based on new information. B. Flexibility is our willingness and openness to change based on new information. C. Flexibility is our need to change based on new information. Focus question answer. If you chose B, you are correct. I talk, you listen, I listen, you talk, respectfully.
The following video will define and provide examples of transactional communication. Later, we'll discuss how that's important to self-awareness in diverse groups.
What is transactional communication? Transactional communication is the continuous exchange of information where both the sender and receiver are involved in the process and take turns to communicate messages. It happens in real time, and it is often used for interpersonal communication. However, some examples of transactional model in a professional setting include face-to-face meetings, a telephone call, a Skype call, a chat session. The transactional model works as a two-way communication that helps people interact. In the transactional model, both parties are both sender and receiver. As with the linear model, noise can affect the flow of communication. Noise, such as the receiver's lack of comprehension, the sender's poor ability to relay their thoughts fluidly to the receiver, or anything else that blocks the sender or receiving party of the message from understanding that message, can disrupt effective transactional communication. Here are 3 things to do to reduce noise and have a consistent and productive conversation with anyone. 1. Clarify what the sender is saying for your own understanding. Do not be afraid to ask questions. 2. Seek to elicit specific information from the sender by asking for very specific details of what they want or need. 3. Confirm what the sender has said, or if you're the sender, confirm what the receiver has heard is correct. Congratulations on taking the first step in executing excellent transactional communication. There are certain topics of discussion that are hot button topics. While in transactional communication, we must be aware of hot button topics such as discussions involving 1. Political views, 2. Religious beliefs, 3. Stereotypical topics about a person or a group of people, 4. Derogatory statements about someone's accent, clothing, socioeconomic status, and so forth. Focus question: what are some hot button topics to avoid as a tactic of self-awareness? A. Laundry, food, or money. B. Grocery list, the weather, or travel plans. C. Political views, religious beliefs, or stereotypical topics. Focus question answer. If you chose C, you are correct. Self-awareness. In any situation, anywhere, at any time.
This leads us to situational awareness and how that's important to self-awareness in diverse groups. Situational awareness is our ability to maintain awareness of changing conditions, current events, and cultural and historical contexts as they affect one's own work.
Situational awareness helps us examine our prejudices and biases against an individual or group of people. Simply put, situational awareness is knowing what is happening around you. Situational awareness is often split into 3 elements. 1. Perception of the elements in the environment. 2. Comprehension of the situation. And 3. Projection of future status. Perception is the ability to gather information from everything around you, and it means being aware of your surroundings up, down, and 360 degrees around. Comprehension involves the way one understands and analyzes the information around them. Projection is the ability to use information from your surroundings to predict potential outcomes. In theory, situational awareness can help us recognize certain projections or assumptions we make of others by forcing us to confirm or disprove our prejudice or bias based on our comprehension of the people around us. Then, through projection, we will notice how our prejudice or biased thoughts impact the people around us. Please note that one disadvantage of situational awareness has to do with our level of analysis in each stage. We may overthink or overanalyze our interactions in diverse groups. So make sure that after you analyze the best course of action while in diverse groups, put that analysis into action. Focus question. Situational awareness is often split into 3 elements. A. Perception, comprehension, and status. B. Perception, comparison, and projection. C. Perception, comprehension, and projection. Focus question answer. If you chose C, you are correct. Perceptions and bias.
What is bias?
Bias is defined as prejudice in favor of or against one thing, person, or group compared with another, usually in a way considered to be unfair. For example, the halo effect is a type of common bias. Simply, the halo effect describes the phenomenon where people assume a person or thing is good in every way because of one good characteristic. The following is an exercise in self-awareness to combat biased perceptions. Here is our first exercise. Without any information provided to you, look at these 2 individuals and guess which one is the medical doctor and which one is the banker. Before I give you the answer, ask yourself, did I make my decision based on what they're wearing? Or was it based on their gender? Or based on their ethnicity? Or a collection of other characteristics? Okay, now let's reveal their identities. Sheila is an ER doctor, and David is a senior banker. Just think about it. Did you get that answer correct or incorrect? Either way, please examine how you judged these people. Was your decision based on appearance, gender, ethnicity, or other characteristics? Let's try this again. Without any information provided to you, look at these 2 individuals and guess which one is the reporter and which one is the attorney. Again, before I give you the answer, ask yourself, did I make my decision about their respective professions based on what they are wearing, or based on their gender, or based on their ethnicity? Okay, now let's reveal their identities. Jenny is a real estate attorney, and Tina is a reporter for a local newspaper. The goal of these 2 exercises is to illustrate that we should not make snap judgments about others until we gather enough information to come to a logical conclusion about who these individuals really are. Focus question. How can we avoid making assumptions about others? A. Try not to make snap judgments about others until we gather information. B. Try to make snap judgments about others until we gather information. C. Try to assume the worst of others until we gather information. Focus question answer. If you chose A, you are correct. Making better connections.
Making better connections, it starts with understanding our subconscious and our conscious thoughts and feelings. Specifically, how we transfer our thoughts and feelings to others.
We can make better connections when we are self-aware of our thoughts and feelings that we may transfer to others. Transference is a term that is often used to describe the act of consciously or unconsciously transmitting personal feelings or beliefs onto another person in order to convince the transferee that the transferer's view, belief, or feeling is the better perspective. Transference implies that someone is taking a judgmental approach in dealing with subject matter that does not fall within the realm of normal within that person's culture.
Let's complete an exercise that we can use to manage our internal dialogue as it pertains to self-awareness.
This exercise is called tuning in. Tuning in to your internal thoughts and dialogue can help you reduce or eliminate transference. Let's begin. The purpose of this exercise is to tune into your thoughts and internal dialogue. You may sometimes be unaware of, and therefore you do not recognize the power that those thoughts and internal dialogue have on your actions and behaviors. In the following slides, I'm going to read an Aesop's fable, The Frogs and the Ox. At different points of the story, I'm going to pause and you're going to use the worksheet associated with this exercise to jot down your thoughts, what your inner dialogue or private thoughts are at that moment. If you are in a learning group, please do not share your thoughts with any of your group members. The Frogs and the Ox. An ox came down to the reedy pool to drink. As he splashed heavily into the water, he crushed a young frog in the mud. The old frog soon missed the little one and asked his brothers and sisters what had become of him. "A great big monster," said one of them, "stepped on little brother with one of his feet." "Big was he?" said the old frog, puffing herself up. "Was he as big as this?" "Oh, much bigger," they cried. The frog puffed up still more. We'll pause here so that you can tune in to your thoughts and internal dialogue. Ask yourself the following questions. Am I thinking about a certain part of the story? What specific part of the story is it? What are my thoughts about how I feel about that part of the story? Or was I focused on something happening outside of the story? If so, what was it? Jot down your answers on the worksheet now. Pause the video if you need more time. "He could not have been bigger than this," she said, but the little frogs all declared that the monster was much, much bigger, and the old frog kept puffing herself out more and more until, all at once, she burst. The moral of the story is, don't attempt the impossible. We'll pause here so that you can tune in to your thoughts and internal dialogue. Ask yourself the following questions. Am I thinking about a certain part of the story? What specific part of the story is it? What are my thoughts about how I feel about that part of the story? Or was I focused on something happening outside of the story? If so, what was it? Jot down your answers on the worksheet now. Pause the video if you need more time. Can internal dialogue be changed? Yes. Internal dialogue can be changed by being aware of our preconceived thoughts. How do we avoid transference to make better personal and professional connections with others? We can avoid transference to make better personal and professional connections with others by consciously deciding to focus and tune in to our internal dialogue. Let's dig a little deeper. We can avoid transference by managing our internal dialogue by pausing to reflect on the degree of which we are projecting our beliefs, thoughts, or feelings onto others. In summary, you and those in which you interact will feel respected when your respective beliefs, thoughts, and feelings are not minimized. This is critical to making better personal and professional connections. Focus question: can internal dialogue be changed? A. Yes, internal dialogue can be changed by thinking like everyone else. B. Yes, internal dialogue can be changed by being aware of preconceived thoughts. C. No, internal dialogue cannot be changed. Focus question answer: if you chose B, you are correct. Summary and key points.
So what have you learned about self-awareness in diverse groups?
We've learned the following. 1. Self-awareness is very important in our interactions in diverse groups to make better connections. 2. We must perpetually understand our thoughts and actions in terms of how they affect our interactions with others. 3. We've learned that flexibility matters to promote inclusion of others in diverse group interactions. 4. We can use effective transactional communication. It's a great way to hear what others are saying and in return be heard by others as well. 5. We have learned to adapt in any situation when we are in a diverse group of people to show proficiency in situational awareness to influence others around us. 6. We learn to adjust our perceptions of others based on facts and not on assumptions. And finally, 7. We've learned to manage our internal dialogue to control bias and prejudice, and this will help us make sound decisions about the people around us. Here's your critical thinking question to ask yourself and put your answer into action. Ask yourself, what will I do to increase my self-awareness while interacting in diverse groups? Choose an exercise from this training in an area that needs improvement. Then make the exercise a part of your daily activity. After you practice your self-awareness exercise daily, how can you tell if you are becoming more self-aware? You will know you have increased in self-awareness skills in a few ways. 1. You will demonstrate the ability to take a step back from your emotions and respond instead of react. 2. You will not pretend to know everything. 3. You will maintain a growth mindset and realize that failures along the way are a part of the learning process. When you have a high level of self-awareness, you ask for constructive feedback and respond with a level head. Also, self-awareness involves being kind to others as well as being honest and sincere about your own feelings. Congratulations, you have completed this course.
Thank you for your participation. I hope this training adds value to your personal and professional life. Bye for now.